Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the early opportunity. And before we get to that, I want to thank you, Madam Chairman, and I'm looking around the room and I'm seeing a number of your able staff that I've had an opportunity to work with, and I want to share my appreciation with that. But also to both chairmen for all the work that's being done over these few weeks on appropriations. I could tell you how much I miss it, and I do. However, the schedule is grueling, and I understand that as well, but this is such vital work that you bring to the rest of us. Thank you very much. So I appreciate the opportunity to just talk to you a little bit about one area. You're going to hear a lot of important questions, a lot of important discussion, because this committee is all about jobs, everything related to Pennsylvania jobs. So right now, I want to talk to you just a piece of what we do, because there's a lot of interest and activity in my committee, and that's with the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, if you don't mind. We'll talk a little bit about what we look to see in the budget proposal. We look to see an increase of $2 million, depending upon how all this goes. I just have a few clarification questions with regard to that. One is, I'm just a little puzzled that under the Federal Rehabilitation Act, the federal grants are matched at 78.7% and the state 21.3%. But those numbers don't quite add up to get the $2.1 million that we're seeing in additional federal funding. What's going on there? Is that a misprint?
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you. Generally, let me tell you what we did in the budget and what's it intended to do, and then we'll just double check and get back to this committee with regard to the numbers if they don't add up. Thank you first, if I may step back just to this year. In the 15-16 budget that was approved was $5 million additional dollars for OVR. That allows us to maximize our federal drawdown, that match that you were talking about, putting up all of the state dollars available to maximize what we can bring back home for Washington to serve people with disabilities and get them into independence and productive employment. The anticipation of what we're being told will be available from Washington, D.C. this year is what the $2 million extra that we're asking for is in there for. It's to stay available to draw down those maximum dollars. And let me explain why that is important. For two reasons. One, we have many people in Pennsylvania who need and can use OVR services than we have the dollars to serve. And so whenever we can get basically a better than 4-to-1 match on our dollars to serve more people, we want to be able to do that. Secondly, at the end of the federal fiscal year, states that have left money on the table, like Pennsylvania had done in the past, those leftover dollars, for lack of a better word, other states get a chance to compete for them. But if you hadn't maximized your state match to begin with, you're not in the pool to be available to those. So with the additional dollars that we got this year, we're anticipating the ability to serve over 8,000 additional people, and then the same thing will happen with the additional dollars that we're requesting for 16-17. The last point I want to make is, because I know this is important to the chairwoman, but also probably to many others. The new Federal Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act requires us to do the right thing when it comes to what are called transition age youth, young people who are still in high school, getting early work experience and connection and skills that will allow them to transition more easily from school to work. OVR in the past was serving just a very small population of young people. The extra dollars that we are bringing in this year, $23 million, $20 million of those are going to be to expand our youth. And so our services, pre-employment transition services for youth. So with those extra dollars, we weren't going to have to take services away from any adults, and we have a little bit of capacity to serve a few more adults, and we're able to meet this great demand for young people. So thank you for that.
So those numbers, thank you, Kathy. So those numbers, you're talking about the required 15% held back for just those transitional purposes.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks. That leads me to, more specifically, and you and I have talked about this too, and that's House Bill 400, which is now over in the Senate and in their Appropriations Committee and waiting for action. And we're also talking about the WIOA, I don't know how to say that better, to shorten it up, with the WIOA requirements. You know, when it comes to the 15% federal funds, will that supersede what we have defined in 400, or will the enactment of that supplement the program?
Well, they're kind of
requirements that are
they're
already in
compatible
WIOA?
with each other, and what I mean by that is the intent at OVR is to do exactly what is in the WIOA law, which is also reflected in the intent of House Bill 400. So we're doing it with or without 400, but 400 is really important. It's been great to see so much support from the advocacy community and from the members of the General Assembly, understanding how important the pre-transition opportunities are for young people. And our emphasis, you know, we're kind of building out a expanded structure at OVR, both internally and through external partners, to make sure that we can do this well. We're going to be investing in not only more voc rehab counselors and mobility specialists, but really early reach coordinators, business reps, because if our first priority is going to be to get folks these job experiences, we need to be out there pounding the pavement and recruiting employers who are willing to give folks the job experience. So we're going to have a whole array of services that we're going to be looking to do that align with what is in House Bill 400.
Well, thanks. And that's been the concern of some folks. We don't want to take away from one to give to another. But for those who don't recognize the importance of this particular effort, sometimes referred to as 21 and able, and we have all kinds of terms that we use for it. Think back to your first job when you were in high school. The fact that you got out in the workplace and got to learn the soft skills like getting to work on time and meeting the commitments, you know, described for you in the workplace. The more we can do that, the better chance those folks won't graduate to the couch and, you know, never have a meaningful career.
Right.
So,
and that's again why the dollars, the new dollars, state dollars that you put up this year was so critical, because had those new dollars not been there, in order to meet the requirements under the federal law, we literally would have had to be taking services away from folks who already get them to and are deserving, to folks who are also deserving and weren't getting them. And now we can stay the course
I'm so
with
pleased
one and
that we've
expand
gotten
with
to
the
that.
other. It's fabulous.
And I thank leadership on all sides for being so supportive. I can't wait to hear all the other questions, so I'll be here for the duration.
Thank you.
you.